Today I'm going to show you step by step how to take this PSD file and turn it into an Elementor landing page or home page. So a lot of times designers can send you a PSD file and now you need to create it into a live website. The tool I use for doing this is Elementor. I want to take you over the sections first of all before we get started. So this is our hero section. We have a logo over here. We have an awesome image on the right side and two little buttons over here. One of them is a regular call to action button and the second one is sort of a link to open a YouTube video, maybe in a lightbox or something like that. Then we have the intro section, subtitle, title, description, and a read more button. Over here we have sort of a full width gallery or some images. There's a couple of ways to do that. Next part is the features part. We have a title, a description, and three boxes separated into three columns, each one with a call to action button. The next part is a testimonials section, or sort of a testimonials carousel, which you can navigate using these bullets down here. Next section is the team members section, and the last section is the contact us section with a map, and down here we have some social icons and the copyright. Now what we're going to do today is try to be pixel perfect. So we're going to try to be exact as possible and still remain responsive and try to follow responsive guidelines so we don't have problems in tablet and mobile. To get started, we'll start off with our logo, which is as simple as possible. Just gonna click on that. Now, before you click on anything, you're going to want to make sure you're using the move tool and you have auto select over here, this checkbox selected, and layer. The next thing you're going to want to do is to open your layers panel over here, and then whatever you select or click on will show on the right side over here. I'm going to right click on this and quick export as PNG, since logos are usually PNGs. On my desktop, I'm going to create a new folder for my website, which is a beauty website, and I'm going to save this logo over here. Perfect, we got our logo saved, and I'm going to jump into my web browser, which is Google Chrome, and I have Elementor already open over here. As you saw before, the hero section is separated into two columns, so I'm just going to click on the plus button over here and select to column. Click on this button right here. This is the widgets pane. I'm going to click on it once, and I'm going to scroll down to the image widget and I'm going to drag that inside. Choose image, upload, select, and desktop beauty folder, and this is our logo. Perfect. Insert to insert, and we have our logo over here, which looks pretty awesome. In alignment, I'm going to align it to the left, and we're set up to start with the next part. So over here we have sort of a subtitle. Now to copy the text, what I usually do is I just double click on the T over here. So double click on that, copy, Command C, or you can right click copy, and I'm jumping into my web browser, widgets pane, and I'm going to use a heading for this. So here's my heading, Command A to select all of the text, Command or Control V to paste, and this is our text. Perfect. Before we start styling everything, I'm just going to add all of the elements first of all. So jump back into the Photoshop. Here's our main title. I'm going to copy that, jump back in, duplicate this heading by right click duplicate, and change the text. This is going to be our main title. Next one is just the text over here. So I'm just going to click on it. Again, double click on the T. All of the text is selected. Command C. And over here, instead of duplicating, I'm going to add a different kind of widget. These two are headings, and the next widget that I want in the widgets pane is text editor. So this is not a heading, it's just some text. So over here, I'm going to paste that in. This is our text. Perfect. And we have two small buttons down here. Many times when people want to make two buttons one next to each other, they use the widget intersection. This is a mistake, and I'm going to show you the right approach to do this. First of all, I'm going to drag in the button. Let's copy its text from Photoshop. Reserve now. Double click on the T. And it says that I don't have the font. I don't care. I'm just gonna click OK. Replace. And oh, it's because of this arrow right here. They put it as text instead of as an icon. Perfect. Click over here. Reserve now. I'm gonna change the R to be a big one and the N to be a big one. Let's duplicate this button. Go back into Photoshop and copy our second text. Perfect. Great, so we got all our elements over here. Let's put the image on the right side, which is this awesome image over here. Now, usually when there are images like this that are clipped, the layers aren't merged yet. So I'm just gonna click on it once, and over here you can see that this small little arrow says that this is a clipping mask. Now, before I can export this, I need to merge between the two layers. To do that, I'm going to hit Shift on the keyboard after I have the first layer selected, and then hit on the second layer. Right click and click Merge Layers. Now these two layers are merged, and I can export it same way as I did the logo, which is right click, quick export as PNG. So I'm going to call this Hero and jump into the browser. We're going to put it as a regular image right over here, or maybe I'll do it as a background image for the column. Let's try to add it as a background image for the column. So I'm going to click on the column. This is the column, this gray little icon over here. Go into Style and Background Type. I'm going to select Classic, Image, Upload, Select, and here's my hero image. Perfect. Now you can see that it's weighing 1 megabyte. That's a little big for just one image. You can go to a website that's called TinyPNG, and if I would upload the image over here, instead of 1.3 megabytes, now it's compressing it, and now you can see it's weighing only 300 kilobytes, which is about a third of the size, or even 1/4. So let's save this again and upload again, because this is important. You can't ignore this kind of stuff. This means that the image will load now 4 times faster. Now you can see that the image over here is set to the column background. What I'm going to do is change a couple of stuff. The first thing I'm going to change is the size. Instead of default, I'm going to change this to contain. What this will do, it will make sure that the image doesn't get cut off. Since this type of image, we're going to want to keep it full size. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do In repeat, I'm going to choose no repeat so it won't repeat itself. And in position, I'll just choose right center so it snaps to the right of the column. Now, as you can see, this column is not full height like inside of the Photoshop file. If we look in the Photoshop file, you can see that this whole section is sort of full height of the browser. So let's try to see what we can do. And it's snapped to the right also. So first of all, inside of the section, we're changing from the column settings to the section settings. And in content width, I'm going to select full width. And now you can see this snaps over here. Inside of height, I'm going to choose fit to screen. And now it's taking the full height. By default, when you select height fit to screen, the column position is going to be in the middle of the screen. We're going to change that to stretch, and now it's stretching all the way up. Now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change this little image over here by the column settings inside of style to snap to the top. So we want top right instead of center right. So here we go. And now it's placed correctly like I wanted. If you want the image to be a little bit bigger, what you can do is increase the column width. So in layout, I can change this instead of the default 50% that it is right now to 60%, and now it's a little bit bigger and it represents a little bit better what we saw in the Photoshop file. In this column over here, what I'm going to do is first of all select it by clicking on the gray button. And in vertical alignment, I'm going to choose middle just so the text aligns to the middle of my image. In the Photoshop file, there was a lot of space over here between the logo and the text. To measure the exact amount of pixels, you can use the select the regular marquee tool and just measure this like this. And now you can see it's 127 pixels. There's a small prompt. You might not be in pixels, so to show the pixels, what you can do is Command or Control R. That will open the ruler. You can right click on the ruler and change from whatever you are into pixels. So that's why I see pixels, because I already done that. So 126 pixels. I click on the logo, advanced, padding, bottom, 126, and I got that set up. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is start styling my subtitle over here. Now, inside of HTML tag, you might want to lower the hierarchy over here, like to an H4 or something like that. I don't know. This is an SEO thing, so you can play around with that. What I do know is that the main title should be H1, since it's the most important. And this one, it depends how important it is. If it's not that important, you can even choose a div. Perfect. Let's check out how we find out the text style, what we need to copy. So over here, if I click on it, on the T over here, we can see the font family is Roboto. It's not bold, it's regular. And the size is 15, and we also have the color over here. So I'm going to copy this color, and I'm going to jump into the browser. Inside of the Style tab, Typography, I'm going to change the size to 15, and the text color to the color we took. Also in typography, you can change the transform to uppercase. That way all the letters will be uppercase. And in weight, we can choose a thinner weight like in the design. Perfect. Let's jump into the Photoshop just to make sure we got everything. I think there's a little bit of spacing between the letters. To make sure about that, you can open characters. So window, character, and over here you can see if there's space between. I think this one is the space between the letters. So there is a little bit of letter spacing, and to achieve that we go over here to letter spacing and you can change that to 1. Perfect. Next one is the main title. Let's go into the Photoshop file and click on the title, click on the T over here, and it's Play Fair Display 60 and bold. So style, typography 60, and the weight is bold. Now, as you saw, I haven't chosen a family. The reason for that is that we need to do it globally. To do it globally, we click on the hamburger menu over here and default fonts, primary headline, and we can choose Play Fair Display. And now it's changed it over here, which looks good. Secondary headline, I'm going to choose Roboto, and for the body text, Roboto as well, and accent is also Roboto. Perfect. To apply this, before clicking update, just click on the green apply button up here. Perfect. This seems to be saved. Over here, this is the headline, but it's not supposed to be Play Fair. So now we can override the typography by clicking family and choosing Roboto. Awesome. Let's style this button over here. Check out the style in the Photoshop file. So it's just a square button with some background color. To take the background color, I'm going to double click. It's a shape layer in Photoshop. I'm going to copy that, Command C, Control C, and OK. Let's go into the browser, and in style, I'm going to change the background color to whatever it needs to be. And over here you can choose also in content. We can make this a bit bigger. In style, I'm going to cancel the border radius by putting in 0 over here. Now it's not rounded at all. And to make these two buttons one next to each other, what I'm going to do is in advanced positioning, choose width inline. Same thing I need to do for the second button, so we're going to change it to medium, and in advanced positioning I'm going to change that to inline. Looking good. Style over here, the background will be white and the text color will be pink like we had before. If you want to save this pink color to your color palette, you can just click on the plus over here. Now this pink color will be accessible whenever you need it. Let's click on the first button. Inside of content, I'm going to add an arrow. So I'm going to search for arrow, and here's the arrow that I wanted. Now if you want it to be after instead of before, you have icon position, and you can space between these two so they're not so close to each other. Same thing I'm going to do with this button. So I'm going to click on it, content, icon, and over here we wanted a play button. This looks awesome, and we can space between these two a little bit. I think the layout overall is very good. We're almost done. The only thing that I might want to do is add some padding from the left. If we close the bar over here, you can see that it's too close to the left. So to change that, I'm going to click on the column. Inside of advanced padding, I'm going to add padding on the left. Make sure to unlink before you do that. Perfect. So I've added some space. Take in mind that when we close this, this is the way that most people will see it. I mean, they don't have this bar over here, but we can play around with this a little bit. 70 also looks good. Great. I think the layout over here is pretty good. And we can jump into the next section. So in the next section, let's see what we have. The next section is a subtitle, a title, and some text, and a read more button. This time the read more button is rounded instead of square. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reuse these 3 widgets or these 4 widgets and copy and paste them. So right click copy, right click paste, center that, right click copy, right click paste, center that, right click copy, right click paste, go into style and center that, right click copy, right click paste, and center that. Now I'm clicking center, but it's not centering it. The reason is that the position is inline. So we need to change that by clicking on advanced, position, and turn it back into default. Perfect. In content, we can delete the logo, the icon since we don't have it, delete the icon spacing since we don't need it, and we're going to change this to read more like it was in the initial design. Usually between sections you're going to want to add spacing. We can even measure the exact spacing over here with the selection tool. From here to here it's about 140. What I usually do between sections is 150 pixels. So let's jump into the browser, right click on the section, advanced, and in padding I'm going to add 150 and bottom 150. Cool. Now wide text is sort of hard to read. So what I usually do is click on edit section, and in layout you can play with the content width. So if you want it to be less wide, you can play around with that. If you want to be exact, of course you can measure. Now I know the styling isn't exactly the same, but I want to leave it this way because I think it's the correct way. I think we don't need each time to change the subtitle styling. And right now it looks really good that these two sections are visually similar. Also I don't understand why over here the button isn't rounded and over here it is. Let's just see if we change the button to rounded if it looks better. So in style I'm going to change the border radius to 100, and let's change this one as well and decide if it looks better. So in style, cool. I think that's a little bit softer like the logo and the image over here, so I'm just gonna leave it. I really like the outcome over here. Let's jump into the next section. Now the next section is sort of a gallery. We need to export the images. First of all, we need to merge them since they're also clipping masks. So merge, quick export, and I'm gonna call it B gallery. Same thing over here. Now in some of my videos people ask me, why don't you export this kind of stuff beforehand? I mean, it's kind of boring seeing you do this. So the reason why I do this is that all my videos are not edited and not rehearsed because I want to show the real process of how I do stuff. A lot of times you can see many tutorials that are rehearsed and that they're using special stuff, and it's a script. I don't like this. I want to be authentic and show you how I really work. So I'm gonna go into my browser, click on the plus, and I'm gonna separate this into 4 columns. Widgets pane, image, drag it inside, and we can now upload our gallery images. Here are the 4 images. I'm just gonna select the first one. You don't need to wait for all of them to upload. And here it is. I'm gonna copy it and paste it and select the next image. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. That's what I love about Elementor, is the copy paste function. It's really helpful. Right click on the section and content width. I'm going to change it to full. Now you can see that there's the gap over here is kind of big. To change that, we can go into column gap and play around with it. Now it's narrow. It looks a little bit more like the PSD file, and we're finished with this section. See how fast this is coming together and how good it looks. Let's jump into the next section inside of the Photoshop file. So over here we have a title, a subtitle, and some image boxes over here. We need to take the images, so merge layers, merge layers, merge layers, and export. Export. And export. Perfect. We got our images and we can start creating our next section. To do that, I'm going to jump into my web browser. I'm going to copy this whole section over here and I'm going to paste it by right click. I'm just going to paste the whole section. So we have a subtitle, or this, I think this part we don't have a subtitle. We have a title, a description. Let's just make sure that I am correct. Yeah, we have this part. Let's copy the text. I think it's the same text. Oh, it's not the same text. Now I think that the main heading over here and these headings need to be, first of all, different. So I'm going to change them to H2. And I think they need to be smaller as well. So I'm going to go into style and change this to be at least 10 pixels less than the main title. We can even go to 42. Now, when you have an orphan, it's called an Orphan Word, you might want to think about rephrasing, or over here in the content width we can make it a little bit bigger. Now it looks better. Now to copy the style, I can just right click copy and right click paste style instead of going manually into typography and adding that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this button since we don't need it anymore. And over here we need an intersection of 3 columns. So I'm going to go into widgets pane, intersection, and by default it's 2 columns. We can just duplicate one of these empty columns and now we have 3. As you can see, they're really small. So in edit section, what we need to do is widen our section all the way. Or you can just delete the value over here. By default, it's 1200. Widgets pane, and I'm gonna search for icon box, image boxes, sorry. Here we go. This is our image box. Image size is full, and we can decide that the image, right now the width is 30%. I'm going to change that to 100%. And under each one of these images, I'm going to copy and paste a button like in the design. I'm going to click on this and change the image, upload files, select, and we can upload our 3 little images over here. Click on the first one. Cool. Now to duplicate this, what I'm going to do is actually in style, let me make sure. Maybe we'll take off the spacing, since you see there's some spacing over here. Oh, that's the spacing between the image, and I'm not sure why the image is not going full width. If any one of you knows, please write me, and I can update everyone in the comments. So cool, we have our column pretty much set up. I'm gonna copy it, or let's just duplicate it. Duplicate, and then these ones we can right click delete. Now we need some more space, and instead of going to the section, we need to go into the inner section, and in column gap we can make that wide, just so they're not so close to each other. Inside of the column, I want to see what we have in style. In border, I'm going to select hover, and I'm going to add a box shadow only on the hover. You see that right now, only when I stand on this, it adds a box shadow. I'm gonna make my box shadow more subtle by pushing down the opacity, and maybe we'll make it with a vertical offset of 10, and we'll increase the blur to 30. Perfect, I think that looks good. To copy what we've done, I'm going to copy and paste style, paste style. Now each one, when you stand on it, it sort of jumps out. I'm going to click on this one and change the image, click on the next one and change the image. So we're pretty much done with this section as well. Let's jump into the Photoshop file and see what's next. Next part is the testimonials carousel. Now it has a kind of pinkish background. I'm going to click on the background once, double click on the layer, and we have the hex color over here. I'm going to copy that and jump into the Photoshop file. Over here, I'm going to search in my widget pane for testimonial. So we have the testimonial carousel, and you see pretty much it's exactly the same. So I'm going to click on the section, style, add a background. No, we don't need to add a background image. We are going to add a background color. So this is in color. Perfect, that looks good. Inside of advanced padding, I'm going to add some padding on the top and on the bottom. Let's click on this again, and in style, in navigation, in pagination, we can choose our pink color that we had before. I think this overall is looking pretty good. Let's see if we can increase this a little bit. Okay, cool. You can play around with that. And to edit each one of these slides, you click on content and image and select. And I'm just going to upload some user photos I have. Now, instead of each time needing to find photos for this kind of stuff, I have a folder with some images. So I'm just going to upload 2 of these. And here we go, insert. There you go. Perfect, that looks great. And I'm just checking out the overall view of the page. Let's jump into the Photoshop. And we're almost done. We have about 2 more sections. So let's do the team member section, which is really like this section over here. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it. I'm going to call it team or our team. And now we need to replace the column contents with a team member. For the team members, I'm going to choose to use a third-party plugin. I'm going to open my dashboard inside of WordPress. And over here, I have a plugin that's called Unlimited Elements. I'm going to click on that once. And I'm going to search for team members. And over here, you have all sorts of designs of team members that you can use. Let's find something that is sort of similar to what we have. I think this one is cool. If it's not installed already, you can just hover over it and click install. What's important is that you remember the name. So this one is called Sliding Effect Team Member. I'm going to jump back into my website and I'm going to search for Sliding Effect Team Member. Push that inside of the column, and here you go. Let's delete this and this. This looks awesome. Now we need the images from the Photoshop file, so I'm going to click, merge, click and merge, click and merge. Click on that. Export. Second one. Quick export. And we're all set to go. Click on this one. Upload, select. And in my desktop, here we go. Let's upload all of them. Select the first one and insert. Awesome. Now to make the colors match a little bit more, I'm just going to change all the colors to this pink one. Before I start. Okay, that's not bad at all. Before I start duplicating this. And now we can delete these 2 other columns and duplicate this one. Let's change the image. How awesome is that? Really cool effect. Perfect. So we have a lot of these parts done and we're in the last part. If I'm correct, let's jump into the Photoshop and contact us and a map. So for contact us, we're going to need a form. Here we go. Now you can see that it already looks pretty good. I mean, we just need to add a little bit of styling and try to make the name in the email to be 50% column width. Let's see how that looks. Cool. So now you can see they're one next to each other. For the button, I'm gonna align it to the left And in style, we can choose the same sort of color that we've chosen before. So that's really awesome. I'm going to add another column. And in that column, I'm going to throw in the map. Which looks pretty awesome. You can put in your address over here. Let's change the column width over here to be 30. And maybe add some more spacing inside of the section. Column gap, I'm going to make it really wide so they're not so close to each other. Let's copy the title over here and paste it inside. Push it up, align it to the left, and write contact us. Last section, add 2 columns. Gonna copy the copyright text, double click, copy, go into my web browser and throw inside a text editor. Here's the text. I'm gonna align this in style to the right, and I'll change the text to white. Now you can't see it white on white, so right click on the section, style, background, color, and I'm gonna put this color over here. In advanced, I'm gonna add some padding top. And let's find some social icons. Throw that inside. Let's make it a circle. Line it to the left. Inside of style, we can play around with the size. And instead of official color, we'll do custom color, and the primary color will be the pink, and we'll leave the secondary color by default. So I could continue this a little bit more to finalize it, but I think we're at a good stage right now. I just want to check really quickly responsive mode. So I'm just going to click tablet, which looks pretty cool. I think I'm going to change this column inside of layout to be 100%. And this column, what I'm going to do with it is I'm just going to hide it. So inside of advanced, responsive, I'm going to do hide on tablet and hide on mobile. Perfect. So that's the first section. Second section is great. I think everything else will be great. And let's check out mobile. So the only thing that's bugging me over here is the padding. So I'm going to click on the column, advanced, and change the padding to be 20 from each side. This looks good. This looks good. Here's our gallery, features, testimonial, team members, and contact us. Over here we can center these so it won't look weird. Now don't worry, since we're on mobile, it's going to center these only on mobile. Perfect. So any change you make on mobile and has this sort of icon is going to affect only mobile. For example, even the space between this logo, we did it with padding, so just unlink it and it goes to default, and that looks better for mobile. Or even if you want to make the text smaller, you can click on style and then in typography play around with the text, and take in mind, since we see this mobile icon, that the effect that we've done is only on mobile. If we jump back to desktop, you can see that we're cool. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more awesome tutorials just like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.